Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivana Dhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivana Dhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivana Dhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Pavirajagacharya Stota Sata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Pavirajagacharya Stota Sata Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Anandakoti Vaishnavrinda ki. Premas Goshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shirveta Gadada Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kungiri Govardhan ki. Shri Navadvip Mahapurdam ki. Shri Mathur Vrindavan Dham ki. Gangamai ki. Yamuna Mai ki. Bhakti Devi ki. Tulasi Devi ki. Shamaveta Bhaktavrinda ki. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hari Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hari Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hari Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you. So nice. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 13, The Descendants of Dhruva Maharaj, Text 11. So you can repeat word for word. Madhva. Oh. 4, 13, 11. Okay. Padma, have you got it? Oh, where's my phone? My phone is somewhere which you can use, but I don't know where it is. Anyway. Madhva. Tam. Jadam, Unmatam, Kula, Vridaha, Samandrina, Vatsaram, Bhupatim, Chakrur, Yaviyamsam, Brahme, Sutam, Matvatam Jadam Unmatam, Matvatam Jadam Unmatam, Kulavreda Samandrina, Kulavreda Samandrina, Vatsaram Bhupatim Chakrur, Vatsaram Bhupatim Chakrur, Yaviyam Sambrame Sutam, Yaviyam Sambrame Sutam, Madhvatam Jadam Unmatam, Kulavreda Samandrina, Vatsaram Bhupatim Chakrur, Yaviyam Sambrame Sutam, Madhvatam jadam unmatam Kulavreda samandrinam Vatsaram bhupatim chakrur Yaviyam sambrame sutam Madhvatam jadam unmatam Kulavreda samandrinam Vatsaram bhupatim chakrur Yaviyam sambrame sutam. Okay. So the word for word translation. Madhva, thinking. Tam, utkala. Jadam, without intelligence. Unmatam, mad. Kulavridaha, the elderly members of the family. Samandrina, with the ministers. Vatsaram, Vatsara. Bhupatim, ruler of the world. Chakru, they made. Yaviyamsam, younger. Brahme, of Brahmi. Sutam, son. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki. For this reason, the ministers and all the elderly members of the family thought Utkala to be without intelligence, and in fact mad. Thus, his younger brother, named Vatsara, the son of Brahmi, was elevated to the royal throne, and he became king of the world. It appears that although there was monarchy, it was not at all an autocracy. There were senior family members and ministers who could make changes and elect the proper person to the throne, although the throne could be occupied only by the royal family. In modern days also, wherever there is monarchy, sometimes the ministers and elderly members of the family select one member from the royal family to occupy the throne in preference to another. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Garamaya Dadati Swam Parandikam Vandeham Shri Rupa Sajagatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajevam Sarvetam Savudutam Harijana Shitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padansa Gana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vidamsha He Krishna Karuna Sinu Dinu Vanu Jigatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sudi Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpati Rupasha Kripa Sanjubi Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. So, let's read the translation again. For this reason, the ministers and all the elderly members of the family thought Utkala to be without intelligence, and in fact mad. Thus his younger brother, named Vatsara, the son of Brahmi, was elevated to the royal throne, and he became king of the world. So Utkala, the son of Dhruva Maharaj, was a pure devotee. He was a Uttama Adhikari, and this means that he saw the Lord everywhere. And because of this, he wasn't interested in normal worldly material affairs. But for him, everything was Krishna. So in that way, he acted like a madman. So the pure devotee, he sees Krishna everywhere, and everywhere for him is actually the spiritual world. So in the Bhagavad Gita, the symptoms of a pure devotee in 6:29 and 30, I'm just going to read the English translation. A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the Supreme Lord, everywhere. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So this is the vision of the pure devotee. He sees Krishna everywhere and Krishna within everyone. So the example we can say with Hanuman, when he was given the pearl necklace, he broke open each pearl to try and look for Sita and Ram, because he saw the Lord everywhere. And there's also that famous picture where Hanuman is ripping open his chest because he wants to show that Sita Ram is always in his heart. So that's the pure devotee. The Lord is always in their heart. I don't know if I were to open up my heart, I don't know what I would, not such nice things would be in there. Because, we're still covered by lust and envy and greed and anger and so forth. So, before Krishna took birth in the womb of Devaki, these 6 enemies, they had to go. So these 6 children, they died. Lust, envy, greed, illusion, madness, and anger. So Devaki, she had to be purified to carry the Lord. So that's what it means to be pure. The pure devotee carries the Lord in the heart. Nothing else. Only the Lord is in his heart. And that's why they are pure devotees. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:87-35, this is the Vedas personified praying to the Lord. Sages free from false pride live on this earth by frequenting the sacred pilgrimage sites and those places where the Supreme Lord displayed his pastimes. Because such devotees keep your lotus feet within their hearts. The water that washes their feet destroys all sins. Anyone who even once turns his mind towards you, the ever blissful soul of all existence, no longer dedicates himself to serving family life at home, which simply robs a man of his good qualities. So also with these saintly personalities, these pure devotees, because the Lord is in their heart, everywhere they go becomes a pilgrimage site. Everywhere they go, they purify everywhere. So if we just follow around the saintly personalities, everywhere is actually the spiritual world. So because we are carrying so many other things in our hearts, we are called Jiva Bhuta, because we are still on the mental platform and the bodily platform. But the Brahma Bhuta, they are on the spiritual platform, and they are the ones who are pure and see the Lord everywhere. So another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:44 and 45, Maharaj Nimi said, "Now please tell me in greater detail about the devotees of the Supreme Lord. What are the natural symptoms by which I can distinguish between the most advanced devotees, those on the middle level, and those who are neophytes? What are the typical religious activities of a Vaishnava? And how does he speak? Specifically, please describe these symptoms and characteristics by which Vaishnavas become dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And Sri Havi said, so these were conversations by the sons of Rishabhadev, which was also the Lord. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything exists, is eternally situated within the Lord. So we see there's so many verses in scriptures that actually describe these qualities and symptoms of pure devotees, that they just see the Lord in everyone. And so everyone to them is actually a pure devotee, because they know the Lord is in their heart, even though we are covered. Sometimes we don't always see that. We maybe see the faults and flaws in people, but the pure devotee, he sees Krishna in everyone's heart. So naturally he thinks everyone is already a pure devotee. And then in the verse, it also speaks about, it gives this analogy that, Utkala is not very intelligent and he's actually mad. So he's just like a madman. So as well in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:13-36, just as a drunken man does not notice if he is wearing his coat or shirt, similarly, one who is perfect in self-realization and who has thus achieved his eternal identity does not notice whether the temporary body is sitting or standing. Indeed, if by God's will the body is finished, or if by God's will he obtains a new body, a self-realized soul does not notice, just as a drunken man does not notice the situation of his outward dress. So it's interesting, they give this analogy, and so Utkala was like this, and even at some points Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like this. But of course this cannot be imitated. But to be so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that you're not even conscious of your own body and your own mind. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm very conscious all the time. Oh, there's a pain there, I'm hungry, now I'm thirsty, now I'm tired. We constantly always reminded of these things all the time, because we are still very conscious of our own body and our own mind. But these pure devotees, they don't even, like, if they're sitting or standing, if they're hungry, if they're thirsty, if they even die, they don't even notice. They're not even conscious of this because their mind is so absorbed in Krishna that it doesn't matter what their external state is. They are always with the Lord. So as well in the verse, in the purports, they speak about the monarchy system, because Utkala was meant to take over the throne, but then his brother Vatsara took over. So like we see Maharaj Yudhisthira, he was selected king because he was the eldest. But if someone is not qualified, then someone like Vatsara, who was next in line, would be the king. But also there needs to be the qualities of a Kshatriya, and Utkala wasn't displaying those specific qualities for a Kshatriya. So in Bhagavad Gita 1843, they speak of these qualities. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. So also when they talk about this power, Brahmanas don't necessarily want power. They are powerful, but they are powerful by their austerities, whereas a Kshatriya is powerful by his physical strength, his resourcefulness and determination. And also in Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo vidu sakalenehe mahata yoganashta parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it is, appears to be lost. So they talk about this Rajashayo, these saintly kings. So not only did the king have to be the ruler, but he had to be saintly. He had to know scripture. He had to know the Vedas. So they must have this knowledge, the spiritual knowledge. So actually the prime duty of the Kshatriya kings was to disseminate spiritual knowledge. The Brahmanas can preach, but if the preachers don't have the support of the saintly kings, they cannot go forward. We even see in countries where certain religions are predominant, that religion is easier to practice, whereas the one that isn't predominated by the government will be more difficult to practice. So the Kshatriya principle is to uphold Dharma, to uphold the religious principles. That is the king's duty. And we see it in the example of Maharaj Parikshit, when he saw that Kali was going to hurt the bull or kill the bull, the cow, which was the representation of Dharma. Maharaj Parikshit, he immediately went to go protect the cow and to uphold these principles, because this cannot happen in his kingdom. So that is the king's duty, to uphold Dharma. And if not, then actually we all suffer. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.10.4, during the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the cloud showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bags and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. So this is the lovely, idyllic situation that happens when we have saintly kings. Cows are just pouring milk everywhere and, just grazing and, everyone's happy. But when we don't have these kinds of saintly kings, then, as we've seen, the world goes a little bit crazy. So the king is actually very important, Narada Dev, God in the form of man. But of course, in Kali Yuga, we don't see the saintly kings anymore. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.17.24, in the age of Satya, truthfulness, your 4 legs were established by the 4 principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. But it appears that 3 of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. So in Kali Yuga, we have 1 leg left, which is truthfulness, but that's also a little wobbly as well. But we see this, the 3 legs broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. we can see that everyone is quite mad with pride. Like everything is all about me, me, me. And we see, you know, everyone's social media is just, you know, loads of selfies about them, and, you know, it's just pride. And then lust for women, lust for men, lust for Shishi Radharanath ki, Shikiri Govardhan ki, Shikor Hari ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And relationships are based on lust, and how people relax and have fun is through intoxication. So these three legs of religion have been broken. And then in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, 139, there is a very accurate description of the leaders of now, of this age. These barbarians, in the guise of kings, will devour the citizenry, murdering innocent women, children, cows, and brahmanas, and coveting the wives and property of other men. They will be erratic in their moods, have little strength of character, and be very short-lived. Indeed, not purified by any Vedic rituals, and lacking in the practice of regulative principles, they will be completely covered by the modes of passion and ignorance. So, you know, even Srimad Bhagavatam, when it was written so long ago, just before the beginning of Kali Yuga, already it's given such an accurate description, a concise and accurate description of the leaders of Kali Yuga. So that's why actually, if we just follow Srimad Bhagavatam, it tells you everything of the past, present, the future. Everything is in Bhagavatam. So we must just read it. But read it with an open mind and an open heart. So with such leaders, with such characteristics, how can the citizens or the subjects ever be happy? It's impossible. Everyone is just plagued by corruption, excessive tax, famine, lack of food, natural disasters, all from which are all just the reactions of having such terrible leaders. So also in Srimad Bhagavatam, it gives the problem in Kali Yuga in 12.2.1. Shukadev Goswami said, "Then, O king, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminish day by day because of the power influence of the age of Kali." So all of these things we are trying to cultivate, you know, in devotional service, cleanliness, tolerance, truthfulness, mercy, are all just being diminished day by day because of Kali Yuga. And also duration of life. We know that in the other yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, the duration of life was much longer. You know, now we see scientists thinking, oh, we can increase the life, let's be, you know, like let's live forever. But why would you want to live forever? Like in this, no, it's not fun at all. But anyway, so yeah, our duration of life has also been decreased. Even Krishna told Uddhava to get out of the situation. So yes, Kali Yuga, an ocean of faults, but of course we know there's one very, very, very great thing. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.51, "My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom." And then 11.5.36, "Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga, because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtan." So I really like this verse, because if you're actually advanced in knowledge, you will appreciate Kali Yuga. You will worship Kali Yuga, according to Srimad Bhagavatam. Because it comes with the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it comes with this insanely easy process of self-realization, of love of God, is the performance of Sankirtan. So maybe in Kali Yuga everything is a bit crazy compared to the other yugas, and the people are lacking certain qualities, but we have the Maha Mantra. So then the next verse, "Indeed, there is no higher possible gain for embodied souls forced to wander throughout the material world than the Supreme Lord's Sankirtan movement, by which one can attain the supreme peace and free oneself from the cycle of repeated birth and death. So there's no higher possible gain for us embodied souls than the Sankirtan movement. So, and Prabhupada has made the Sankirtan movement very accessible for all of us. You know, we can come to the temple, we can see the deities, we can chant with each other, we can read, we can hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we can go out and preach, we can give his books. We don't even have to be very creative or good preachers. Prabhupada's books does it all for us. Just go out and give out the books. You know, if it's helped you, that conviction will be able to convince others. You don't have to be very learned or scholarly, but if it's done something to you, you can share that, your own personal experience. We've seen that with our students, they always connect more when we share our own personal realization and our personal transformation than if you just kind of blab a bunch of philosophy. People, they want to connect through personal experience. And this is a really nice verse because it says how we can attain the supreme peace. And for me, that is like the best thing ever, to just have peace within my heart. You know I can't always change external situations, but you can internally become stronger and find that supreme peace. That's no matter where you are, no matter what the situation is, you are just peaceful. And that is done through Sankirtan. So there's no other way. So right now we don't have the saintly kings to guide us. We have no proper brahmanas, but we have the Sankirtan movement that Lord Chaitanya gave us. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says how it should be done. So 11.3.30. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. And I really like this verse because it talks about how the most purifying form of the Sankirtan is when we come together. So that should be an impetus for all of us to always come to morning program, because then this is the best chance to all come and chant together. We've seen the most auspicious time in the morning together, chanting together, and during japa time it's nice that we stay in the temple room, because Srimad Bhagavatam even says it's the most purifying when we gather together and associate with devotees. And also why this verse is nice, because as devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction, and they encourage each other. So Prabhupada, in the purport, this is how he writes it. One devotee will say to another, "Oh, you have given up sense gratification. Starting today, I shall give it up today too." So we encourage each other. When we're together, we encourage each other. Like, how is anyone going to give up any bad habits if they're alone? They need the encouragement of devotees who also have given it up. So this is called Sankirtan. By gathering together to chant, we get the most purified. So this is the most purifying process. And also by doing so, being together, we get the most strength to overcome lust and anger, greed, and so on. And so in Bhagavad Gita 2.66, Krishna says what happens if you don't connect with the Sankirtan movement. So one who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, if you're not connecting through this Krishna consciousness, we can never have intelligence, we can never have a steady mind, and we can never have peace. And how can we be happy if you don't have peace within? And also, lucky for us, the process is already there. We don't have to go out searching. We don't have to be seekers. It's all there already. We just have to simply follow in the footsteps. The method is simple. Chant Hare Krishna, be with the devotees. Because we cannot actually do it on our own. We need the association, because Maya is powerful if we're alone. With devotees, we get the strength and the determination. When we alone, the mind is very strong, and then we always talking to the mind. Like I've noticed if I'm chanting alone, I realized, whoa, I just had a whole conversation with my mind. Where was Krishna in any of that? Like, but when you're with devotees and they're there, and they're watching you, then, you try to become more focused and attentive to your chanting. Sometimes I think, oh my God, my thoughts felt very loud. I wonder if they just heard what I was thinking. So, yeah, thinking that we can do it alone, or when the mind is talking to us so much, this is, mental speculation. So the mind is difficult to control, and, Arjuna even says this in the Bhagavad Gita, and we have a whole scene of this in our Gita play. And Comforts, who plays Arjuna, no, it's too difficult. So, and there's also a very nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:16-11, where Krishna even says this. So I'm just going to read the half of the verse where it's relevant. Among subtle things, I'm the spirit soul, and of things that are difficult to conquer, I am the mind. So even Krishna says it himself. Of difficult things to conquer, I am the mind. He doesn't say some strong hero or soldier. He doesn't even say like material energy. He doesn't even say like natural disasters. He says the mind. Of difficult things to control or conquer, I am the mind. So that should already tell us. But the mind actually belongs to Krishna. It doesn't belong to us. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita talks about his 8 separated energies, and the three subtle energies, mind, intelligence, and false ego, are his separated energies. They belong to him. So this is the only way to conquer the mind. Give it to Krishna. Give it to the Sankirtan movement. So Srimad Bhagavatam 5:11-17. This uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful, and it will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So if we give in to the mind or we neglect it, it becomes more powerful and strong. And what I like about this verse, it says, although it is not factual, it is very strong. So meaning it's not really real because it's temporary. So, but still, we give so much prominence and we give so much importance to the mind, thinking that it's us, thinking that these crazy thoughts are actually us, but it's not. So actually this verse was spoken by Jada Bharat, who we mentioned yesterday in yesterday's verse. So this was actually one of his instructions when he was speaking to the king. And then another part, in the last part of the verse, it says, do this with great care. So that means we must be serious in our spiritual practice, not in a haphazard way, like, okay, let's do a little bit today, tomorrow I don't really feel like it. We must actually be serious. We must be regulated and disciplined. We must try to understand the seriousness of this movement. Because now we know we don't have the saintly kings. Only what is available to us is the spiritual master, Krishna, and the association of devotees. So then, Srimad Bhagavatam 11:48, Krishna says to Uddhava, my dear Uddhava, I am personally the ultimate shelter and way of life for saintly liberated persons. And thus, if one does not engage in my loving devotional service, which is made possible by associating with my devotees, then for all practical purposes, one possesses no effective means for escaping from material existence. So Krishna, he stresses and emphasizes the fact that only through devotional service, in associating with his devotees, can we get out of this kind of existence. And by us thinking we can do it our own way, that is actually the false ego. When we think that we can do it alone, when we don't need the devotees, when we think, oh no, I don't have to do this, but I can just do it my own way, then that is always the false ego. Or thinking that we are okay and that we don't need this, that's also the false ego. Or thinking that we are the doer is also the false ego. So Krishna is saying exactly what we should do and how we should do it. Loving devotional service to him. He's the ultimate shelter. By associating with his devotees and being part of the Sankirtan movements, we can ultimately find that peace and that happiness. So I'm going to stop there. It's early, but I mean, we don't have to. Anyway, if anyone would like to share comments or thoughts, that would be nice. Radhika Jivan Prabhu. We haven't heard from you in a while. Rukmini? I don't know whether, I think it's a comfort in his intense questions.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, since you're talking about ignorance, passion, and all that, I wanted to ask this: how would you introduce Krishna consciousness to someone who's ignorant and naive?
Well, everyone is ignorant and naive. So how would you introduce it to anyone? Well, it also depends on like the relationship you have with a person. And also giving spiritual knowledge, it must be done with care, according to the person's needs, wants, desires, their circumstances. You know, it's a personal movement, so we should also be personal in our delivery of how we introduce it. You know, so get to know the person. Don't just like throw things at them, you know, because people, they relate to you if you relate to them and you understand them. So Krishna consciousness it's medicine, and as a doctor you would have to prescribe the right medicine for that person, right? You wouldn't like, if it's just a mild fever, you're not going to give them like a huge dose of medicine. You would give it according to, you know, their problem. So in the same way, that's how we deal with it, according to the person. So I would say first get to know the person, see where they're at in life, and then how you can relate their world and their life with Krishna consciousness, you know? Like if you say it's someone who's like ignorant and naive, like in what way do you mean? Like ignorance of spirituality or, right? Okay, so they don't know much about spirituality. Then you have to kind of go from like the very, very basics, you know? You know, things like there is something other than just matter and temporary things. There's actually an eternal world. There's a spiritual world. You know, you just kind of have to build it up. Yeah, not just give them too much and then they freak out and run away. But yeah, it's nice to be personal with people according to where they're at and see how it relates to them. Does that make sense? Do you have like some friends that you want to know how to specifically reach out to them?
Yeah, well, my friends are weird. They believe in science, and if it like they believe in thesis, you know, facts, and
yeah.
you know.
Well, actually, like Krishna consciousness is very scientific. Srimad Bhagavatam is super scientific. In the second canto, it's so detailed and technical about the creation of the world, of like the earth and the material universe and all of the universes. So, and there's actually a book by Prabhupada, Life Comes from Life, which is especially for people that are more scientifically minded. Yeah, so actually we can give you that book. We have that book. It's small, it's really small, and it's specifically for people that are more into science and that kind of things, and then it shows them in a kind of more logical, science-based way how to approach spirituality. Because, you know, they don't want to hear some weird, esoteric, out there thing. They want to hear more kind of logical facts, right? Yeah, and so it is there. It just has to be presented in that way. But yeah, that's a nice book, so we'll get it for you.
I've also heard that you guys say you don't want to convert people, right? if you're a Christian, we make you a better Christian. If you're a Muslim, we make you a better Muslim. How do you guys go about doing that?
Well, it's just because Prabhupada, he said that like if people were truly following their religion, they, properly following their religion or their belief, then that is okay. Then they will get to the final destination eventually, because all religions are based on love God and be closer to God. So, like in Christianity, thou shalt not kill, but Christians obviously they don't really follow that because of eating animals. So he's saying if you actually just properly follow the process of the religion, then you will attain that supreme destination, or you will eventually get elevated to eventually in another life come to Krishna consciousness. Yeah, so you don't want to convert and force people to be something they're not, because then they might actually resent you for changing who they are. Sometimes people, they attach to what they know and to their culture and their beliefs, and they don't want to be told that they're completely wrong. So we don't tell them, you are wrong, rather do this. But we can elevate them to a higher platform. Because it comes in stages. So yeah, everything is about your own desires and your own choice. We want to give people the choice. I mean, there's nothing worse than not having freedom of choice.
So yesterday I was reading, there's a book called Essence.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Cool. So there's a part where Prabhupada says that we shouldn't associate with non-devotees. So of course the book doesn't explain it in detail, but what I'm trying to understand is Prabhupada saying that we shouldn't like associate with them like none at all, or just minimize the association, or kind of like what do you think he means by that?
Well, association, of course, when we want to preach and give Krishna consciousness to everyone, and in that way you have to associate with all types of people. But association also means who you open your heart to. So you can also give association without taking association. So say now for preaching purposes, you are speaking to atheists or like Satanists, I don't know, for example. Like you don't have to necessarily take their association, but you can give them your association. So that means not opening your heart and allowing what they believe in to influence you, but to rather try and elevate them. So we can't avoid people, they are different kinds of people all over the world. So we cannot avoid them, but we can rather give association without taking the association. And also, association, it depends on us. Are we with these people as like a fun, enjoying, like, hanging out on just a personal level, or are we there to try and elevate their consciousness? So it also depends on what your intention is with you keeping these people's company. Like if you say, no, going out with a bunch of Satanists to go watch a movie, then you are taking the association. But by just trying to elevate people to a higher consciousness, then you are not taking association but giving. Does that make sense? Rukmini?
Hare Krishna. Don't know if this is a question or a comment, but I'm thinking about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say that we should beat the mind in the morning 100 times with a broom, and in the evening 100 times with a shoe. I may have gotten the instruments confused.
The shoe in the morning, the bruise in the evening.
Broom in the evening, okay, which involves beating the mind, basically. And here you were mentioning about how if we just allow the mind to become powerful, then it totally takes over. So I guess my question is more about, or my thoughts is more about beating the mind, and whether beating the mind works.
Well, actually, in that Japa book by Buri Prabhu, he gives that example, and then he also says, if this is too aggressive and your mind goes into a spasm because you're trying to beat it too much, there's another way. You can plea with the mind. And then he gives this beautiful poem by maybe Raghunath Das Goswami, I can't remember, but it's in the Japa book, I think from the Manashiksha. And he's pleading with the mind. He says, oh mind, please just become attached to Krishna, please, and he's actually pleading. So instead of beating the mind, you are trying to beg the mind. So that's just what I thought, because obviously we can't all be so aggressive and beat the mind constantly. But we can actually just beg for the mercy or become a beggar.
I think it's also maybe a middle ground. I'm just thinking practically also, a middle ground of just talking to the mind, like, in the sense of, there's this, again, I think, quote by Bhaktisiddhanta. He says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where he says that until the inside and the outside become one, then just close the door, look in the mirror and preach to yourself. And this was a quote that was put on, that was found when Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu left, who was one of Prabhupada's foremost Sanskrit translators. And when he left, and people found this quote framed on his desk. And so I'm just thinking that sometimes it requires that we're able to preach to our minds, but not just as we would be able to preach to another person. That requires some level of kindness. And so I just feel like there's many nuances.
Yeah, because, like Prabhupada even says, with others be very kind and compassionate, but be quite stern on yourself. But I also think of like, where's that line, but being too stern and, trying to, not beat the mind too much. I guess you have to see what the circumstance is. Maybe there are times you have to beat the mind, maybe there are times you have to plead with the mind. But what I also find very helpful is, how we always talk about in our Gita, the play, the divine song, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the spirit of detachment. And I like that because we have to always remind ourselves the mind is a separate entity. So we have to be detached from it. So yes, we can plead with it and we can beat it, but we also have to just remember it's not our identity. So just having that knowledge, obviously, that's not fully realized within myself yet, but just having that knowledge of try to act in the spirit of detachment and, think of the mind as separate from myself just helps a lot.
And speaking of that, in that same vein, when Krishna is saying, make them either the mind's your enemy or your friend, what I find is that you beat an enemy, but what do you do to a friend? And I feel like, okay, like fill in the gaps here, like how exactly am I supposed to make the mind my friend? Because, so anyway, these are just minding thoughts.
Well, what's interesting, also in that Japa book, it speaks about, and it's also in Srimad Bhagavatam, I can't remember which canto, one of the earlier cantos, how actually the mind in its natural state is in the mode of goodness, which I found like, what? But it's true. The mind's function is pretty, black and white. So actually the mind in its natural function is in the mode of goodness. So when we have, conquered the mind's tyranny, it can be our friend because it's in the mode of goodness, and then we can actually just use it for what its purpose is. So, I don't know. The mind. Yes, exactly. Like that's old Native American proverb. You have the bad dog and the good dog. The one that you feed gets the most strength, So if you're going to feed into negative thoughts, those will be the strongest thoughts. But so it also just depends on what you And that also comes into association. Association also means what do you associate, in your environments. That's also what goes in your mind. What are we watching? What are we hearing? That's also association. And what we put in is going to stay in there. And unfortunately, as conditioned souls right now, we have tendency to latch onto the mundane things or the not so spiritual things. They stay in your head much longer, but after Bhagavatam class, you're going to, it's gone. So it's also what you feed into your own mind. If you saturate your mind with just transcendental literature, with hearing, with chanting, that's what's going to stay in there, But if we're putting so many other things as well, then it's going to, like my spiritual master, he talks about this analogy of like putting rocks or pebbles into an empty pond, and you keep filling until it's completely full. But then there's also like little gaps in between, which you make with smaller rocks. So that's like refining our practice. So we want to fill our mind with just Krishna consciousness, and then it's so full that nothing else can come in. Yeah. Okay, so it's 1:30 now. Thank you, everyone. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. No, just read.